We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
Hello and welcome to Liberty Nation Radio, heard coast to coast on the Radio American Network from our flagship station in Washington, D.C. I'm your host, Mark Angelides. On today's special show, we're talking the battle royale between Donald Trump and Joe Biden, both in front of the TV cameras and in the court. It's going to be quite the show. And remember, this show is proudly sponsored by LibertyNation.com, where you can access podcasts, breaking news, analysis, and a range of biting and brilliant shows to whet your appetite for freedom and your fondness for the great American Constitution. Will they or won't they? Only their hairdressers and political advisors know for sure. I am, of course, talking about President Biden and former President Donald Trump promising to have a heated debate. But is it actually going to happen? And what are all the rumblings surrounding it? We're very fortunate to have with us Liberty Nation's chief political correspondent, Mr. Graham J. Noble, who has some thoughts on the matter. Graham, thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure, Mark.
So, Graham, you wrote a fantastic article this last week where I guess you highlighted that although both presidents have said they're up for it, and the digital media, the television media is desperate for it to happen, there's been some poo-pooing in other quarters. What's the deal?
Yes, and even though Trump, obviously, you would imagine that Trump obviously would love to debate Joe Biden, and so he's all about it, and he actually his campaign, in fact, even suggested that there should be up to 10 debates, which of course is completely unrealistic. But then again, you know, they know that Joe Biden almost certainly doesn't have the physical or mental stamina to barely get through one debate, let alone 10. Joe Biden recently said on the Howard Stern show, I believe, that it was that he was happy to debate Donald Trump. However, neither campaign is officially committed to the debate commission's tentative schedule. So we still don't know these debates are going to happen. But of course, ratings gold for the cable and broadcast networks. Oh, yeah. But for the print media and the digital media, some of them are not quite as keen on the idea, and some of them have written various stories like, you know, there shouldn't be any debates. Debates are old, you know, they're kind of, that's over and done with. You know, debates are no longer relevant, and, you know, Joe Biden shouldn't be sharing a stage with Donald Trump because of Orange Man bad, you know, and the attempted coup and all that nonsense. So yeah, I think there's a lot of left-leaning journalists out there who are very nervous about the idea of Trump and Biden being on the same stage.
Well, you know, the fact is that in 2020, and you did allude to this in your article on LibertyNation.com, that in 2020, Joe Biden, he was the basement candidate. He wasn't on top of his game, but on the debate stage, he wasn't too bad. I think that's, you know, he didn't embarrass anybody in particular, least of all himself. He carried himself well. And so you had the different media outlets, and when they said, obviously the left-leaning one said Joe Biden won, the right-leaning one said Donald Trump won, but each could at least defend their positions. But I don't think that's possible this time. I mean, just in this last couple of weeks, we've had Joe Biden read 4 more years, pause, from the teleprompter. That wasn't even for him. That was for the audience to direct for 4 more years, right? So he couldn't tell the difference there. And then I think my favorite one is, how many times does Donald Trump have to prove to us that we can't be trusted?
That's right.
It's the man's always been a gaffe machine. That's nothing new. But really, as you point out, his stamina this time around, he just couldn't take it, I think.
Yeah. No, I don't think so. And yes, it is very true that up until even as late as 2020, in fact, you know, even as late as 2020 with the Democratic primary debates and then the debates against Trump himself, up until then, Biden, you know, love him or hate him, you know, whether you agree with his politics or not, he's always been, as I said in my article, kind of calm, cool and collected on the debate stage. And he's actually put together words that are in the right order and actually make some sense. But now I think no reasonable person can possibly uh, dispute the fact that there is some kind of serious cognitive decline happening. And uh, he has it has been made known, and we've seen it even when he's on the public stage, that Biden is now also prone to losing his cool, losing his temper,
Yeah.
and raising his voice and calling people names and generally behaving in a very unpresidential manner, which of course is the one thing that Trump's critics have always, complained about him about.
Sure.
But and I think there's the real danger, and I think probably Biden's handlers, let's call them, also know that there's a real danger that if Trump starts talking over him on the stage, as Trump is wont to do when he's debating somebody, that Biden will actually lose his, I won't say the word that came into my head there, but I will say lose his temper and start yelling at Trump. And of course, that's going to be not good at all for him.
Yeah, a meltdown moment on a debate stage. It's the last thing any president needs. Now, let's say that by some miracle, these debates actually go ahead, or at least one debate goes ahead. What kind of rules do you think? And let's be fair, the rules, they'll all be for Donald Trump, won't they? It'll be, Donald, you're not allowed to talk over anybody. Donald, you're not allowed to go wandering off into to random territories, bringing up conspiracy theories like the Hunter Biden laptop thing, not being Russian disinformation. Sorry, no, that one. No, we can do that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, what kind of rules do you think will be in place for the debate if it goes?
I think that it's going to be very incredibly stage managed. I can't see how they can do it otherwise. And in fact, Ron Klain, who's former Biden White House chief of staff, was recently on MSNBC just a few days ago, and he was saying this. He was saying, it's going to have to be different from 2016, 2020. It's gonna have to have, and the rules that they're going to have, of course, is I believe that they will set it up so that Joe Biden, when it's his turn to speak, he is able to speak from prepared notes, and Trump will not be allowed to interrupt him. And there'll be certain subjects that are just off limits that the moderators won't even ask about. And if Trump brings them up, they're going to try to shut him down. So I think it's going to be very, very strictly stage managed.
Yeah, I still think both former president and current president should go on the Joe Rogan podcast and just let Joe Rogan moderate. I think that would be kind of fun.
Yeah,
because he has an inquisitive mind, and that's what you need, right? Now, there's a couple of other things on the debate that really, it's got my mind just racing of what potentialities exist in the debate forum. Because last time they were running against, Joe Biden was running against Donald Trump's record in office. Most specifically, he said anybody who has this many deaths under coronavirus doesn't deserve to be president or has no right to be president. And of course, since then, there have been even more deaths under his presidency.
That's true.
And then there was, of course, the Hunter Biden laptop that, 50 intelligence community people have done this, but that turned out to actually have been orchestrated by the Biden campaign, and they were completely wrong. So all these things that Joe Biden had to beat Donald Trump over the head with in 2020, those don't exist anymore, do they?
No, they don't. And I think if it comes to a debate, like I said, there's not going to be too much back and forth. There's going to be almost little or no. And I believe there actually will be a single solitary debate that will be very carefully managed. But I don't. So it's not going to be so much as a debate between the two people, as it's going to be like the kind of old school formal debate where the one side gets to stand up and make their case, and then the other side gets to stand up and make their case. There's not going to be a back and forward between the two candidates, I don't think. But really, Joe Biden, all he's got really is, and I think this is all he'll stick with, is basically the border is in chaos because it was actually Trump's fault, and an abortion and and just generally that Trump is an awful person and democracy's at risk, and he's going to shred the Constitution and put everyone in death camps or something. I think that's basically going to be Joe Biden's plan of attack there.
It seems that the narratives are already being set down in the pages of the Fourth Estate and on digital media, with Trump the dictator, Trump the end of democracy, the border is Trump's fault, all these things that you mentioned. It seems that is going to be the main thrust of any debate that takes place. Now, don't go anywhere. We'll be back with Graham J. Noble after this short break. We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.